Good. Yeah. Okay, this doesn't look great. Good. Hey, welcome to Steph's World. Trying to get everything set up here. This is the Spiritual Foundations chapter. Let's see. We're chapter 29, part 2. Now, if I seem like I'm in a bigger hurry to get this stuff done, I kind of am, okay? Because I have other things that I'd like to get done and get processed in my life. So I have some things coming up in the future that are personal that I seriously would like to, take care of. So I'm trying to use a new computer again. We're going to see if we can make this thing work. And hopefully we can. I just spent too much money on it. It has nothing to do with money, though, trust me. But I bought it for a particular reason, and I truly want to use it for that reason. I do have some misgivings about some of the things that it took to get it set up, but we discussed that already. Now, a little while ago, I had stopped at a very important spot in Emmett Fox's recounting of a spiritual message that was given to us by Jesus the Christ in his Sermon on the Mount. And that Sermon on the Mount, by the way, is probably, as Emmett puts it, it's the most profound thing in all of history. And just a very small sermon gave us so much, so very much. So I'm going to continue with some of this, and then I'm going to talk about some of it as I get through it, because I really hope that people watch some of my videos. I know you want to watch the football games, and I know you want to watch all these fun things, and that's fine. Please do, but this is important too, and I think it will help in many ways. But I'm just here to pass the message on. That's all I'm here for. And, God will take care of who watches this and who doesn't. So I want y'all to remember one thing, that I do love you, I care about you, and no matter what your situation in life is, it doesn't matter. You're all human beings. You all started out as babies at one time. And, babies are souls that enter into those little sweetheart bodies and ready for new learning and new education. And we're going to get into that one of these days. I promise you, it's going to be really cool. Now let's talk about where I left off, and let's get back to that. Prior to this, we talked about accepting the great truth, as Emmett puts it, okay? And it's in caps, the great truth. Now, he talks about being set free from opposing difficulty. Now, that's interesting. And, or oppressing difficulty. And that, actually, though, what he is talking about are people who have not truly found the balance of the great truth, see? And they're running around and pouring out their discovery to others before, in fact, they probably need to be doing that. Now, I don't believe that that's the case for me. I have been meditating and praying for many, 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 many years. And I have to admit that what I am trying to do right now is, I believe, is in line with what my my teachers and my spiritual advisors would want me to do. And so I'm here to do that. And let's continue on, because now we're going to talk about something that a lot of people hear about in any religion or any belief system. Never rely upon your own judgment to say who is ready for the truth. See, we're not qualified to make that decision. We don't have those qualifications, but there is one that does. So, not rely for guidance upon, let me start over. Never rely upon your own judgment to say who is ready for the truth and who is not, but rely for guidance upon the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. Now, that makes a huge difference right there. Most of us have had the experience when we first realized the spiritual idea and what it means, of picking out certain of our friends who we felt sure would jump at it, only to find out that in most cases they refused to take it at all. Oh yeah, I've definitely had that experience. I have had people ask me to assist them in their spiritual development, and we worked very, very hard. And sadly, those experiences really just didn't work out. Now, it wasn't anybody's fault. It's just that's the way life is. Okay? That's just how the pieces fall sometimes. Now, that's not entirely true for everyone. I still actually have some people who, even long distance, ask for my help. And I, in turn, am asking for help from those that I don't even hardly know. But I have faith in God. And my faith in God allows me to accept that help. Now, on the other hand, several people whom we, in our foolishness, chose to regard as being unspiritual. Now, he's not talking about me here, because that's a judgment. And remember, we're not allowed to judge, are we? Because they did not seem to be spiritual. So, he's saying, on the other hand, several people whom we, in our foolishness, choose to regard as being unspiritual because they did not seem to be spiritual, accepted it gladly and made a great success with it. How about that? If you are praying regularly every day for wisdom, intelligence, and fresh opportunities for service, yes, fresh opportunities for service, the right people will be brought to you, and you will be brought to them. And a convenient occasion will be provided for the subject to be introduced. If when in company with anyone you are doubtful whether or not to broach the subject of truth, do not, but pray for guidance instead, and leave the matter to the action of God. Sometimes nothing happens. No convenient opportunity presents itself while you are with your friend, and that means that the time is not right, and that no good would have been done by speaking. We have to learn to just shut up sometimes. That's a tough one. Try it. Here's a little example. Try not getting the last word in. try just letting someone else go ahead and say something that maybe you don't even agree with, but don't even respond to it. Just allow them to have their word. Give it a try. Might surprise you. Now, very often, however, an obvious opening does occur in the conversation after the treatment. Now, he calls it a treatment. I don't know where that came from, but I guess that's a good way of putting it. After the treatment has been given and some external incident happens which furnishes an opening for introducing the subject, and I have seen some very surprising and pleasant awakenings happen in this way, and so have I. As a matter of fact, so have I. Above all things, be chary of forcing the subject of truth upon the people with whom you have to live and work. Now, chary, remember, this is a man that wrote this in the 30s, okay? He may speak a little differently than what we're used to, okay? But I think we can figure out what he meant by that. And we could even look the word up. So he says that with whom you have to live and work, especially in your home. It is easy to make yourself nothing less than a constant nuisance by forcing your ideas upon people who cannot appreciate them because they are not ready. They're just not ready. As members of your household and business associates, and naturally to see a good deal of you, and you of them, such a policy. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry, I missed it here. As members of your household and business associates have naturally to see a good deal of you, and you of them, such a policy will probably give rise to a good deal of friction and even ill feeling. Now, I know when I worked, that very well could be the case. But there are ways of dealing with that. There are ways of handling those friction things, those moments of, okay, I've had enough of this person, or go away, please, I need to do my work, There are some very, very good ways of handling this that I've learned. And let's see what Emmett says about this. Try to realize that in the absence of your personal awakening, they cannot possibly see the thing as you do. And what they are therefore seeing, and that they are therefore seeing something else. Also, you may not be very skillful in expounding your ideas in the best way. Finally, remember that those with whom you associate closely will have your personal conduct under constant inspection, will be familiar with many of your faults and weaknesses, and if you talk too much and without a good deal of wisdom concerning spiritual enlightenment, will be sure to look for a greater demonstration than you may be able to make in the beginning. And they will have to be of rather than more than average humanity if they do not sometimes point out discrepancies at most unwelcome moments. If you have been too aggressive, in other words, hasten slowly is here eventually. It cannot help the spread of truth at all. For you to get the reputation of being a crank or a nuisance. The quickest way to spread it is by living the life itself, or yourself. then people will notice the change in you. And as they see improved health and prosperity in your life and happiness shining in your face, they will come around of their own accord, begging to share your secret. They will require no urging to drink the waters of life. When you are desirous of introducing the truth to a particular person or to a group of people, the proper course is to prepare yourself by a special daily treatment for several days, or better still, for a week or two in advance. Work for intelligence, love, to overcome impatience, and to help you to meet ridicule and seemingly unkindness. And above all, for wisdom, which, as we have seen, is the right union of the other two. Claim that the action of God will make you say the right thing when the time comes, and that it will also endow your listener or listeners with the same qualities. Do not allow yourself to care in the least what the actual result of the discussion may turn out to be. You will often be amazed at the results you will get following a few days' spiritual preparation of this kind. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. For every one that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. Or what man is there of you, whom if his son ask bread, will he give him a stone? Or if he ask a fish, will he give him a serpent? If ye then, being evil, know how to give good gifts unto your children, how much more shall your Father, which is in heaven, give good things to them that ask him? Now, this is a wonderful passage in which Jesus enunciates the primary truth of the fatherhood of God. This truth may be called primary because it is the foundation stone. Now, foundation stone is very important. It's a very important concept. And he'll talk about it, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit too. Maybe not in this video, but along the lines, or as we go through this, I'm going to kind of get into it a little bit. I might even have some, readings that I can read to you too that I learned about it. Because this is one person's interpretation of something so vital, so important to us. At any rate, let me continue here. But this truth may be called primary because it is the foundation stone upon which the whole structure of true religion is built. Until men could understand the meaning of the fatherhood of God and something of what that implies, they could hardly obtain any satisfaction, religious experience, as long as men had believed that there were many gods. A sound religious experience was not possible. For all genuine religious experience is a search for conscious union with the One. Conscious union with the One. Very important statement there. What have we talked about when we talk about meditation? What are we trying to do? We're trying to, sorry about that, I need to fix that. We're trying to bring about that union with the One, with our God, our Creator. Okay? And meditation is a wonderful tool that we use to go about doing that besides prayer. So, it's not enough to just pray. We want to do a number of things. Now, he goes on to say, many gods must necessarily be gods of limitation. Okay, now we're going to get into something about limitation here. And as they were always and necessarily represented as being in conflict among themselves, only chaotic thought could follow from such a belief. And think about that. Thought could follow. Okay, now those who had got beyond that idea to the concept of the one or true God still thought of him almost universally as a kind of oriental tyrant king or sultan, owning and governing man with a rod of iron, or on much the same lines that a capricious human tyrant might be expected to pursue. Sounds like the Old Testament to me, but I'm not here to judge. The God of many, but here's Emmett's. The God of many of the Old Testament writers is a very jealous, revengeful, and cruel Deepa, a sultan whom it is almost impossible to please, implacable in his anger, often indiscriminate in his vengeance. He seems to have no more in common with mankind than men have with animals. Okay? In fact, much less. For we do conceive ourselves to share many of the lowest creatures' limitations in a common susceptibility to suffering and hunger and death. Now that's a very important statement. I'm going to reread it. For we do conceive ourselves to share many of the lowest creatures' limitations in a common susceptibility to suffering and hunger and death. A very important statement. This Oriental Sultan view of God was actually the view held by very many earnest Orthodox Christians down to very recent times. Be it remembered, and it denied to man anything in common with God at all. A witty modern writer has compared this God to a certain English millionaire who keeps a private zoo near London as his own personal hobby. It is stocked with a number of creatures which exist solely for their owner's interest and pleasure. He visits his menagerie from time to time, and acting no doubt in expert advice, orders certain animals to be destroyed. Oh boy, I'm glad this was many, many years ago. Others to be moved into more commodious cages, and others again perhaps to be dealt with in this way or that. He has, of course, no spiritual communion with them whatever. They are simply so many animated toys that exist for his entertainment. This is not by any means an overstrained description of the ideas held by many fundamentalists, for instance. Now I'm going to read a little bit more, and then we're going to cut it off. Hopefully we can get through this. In this passage, Jesus once and for all lays the axe to the root of this horrible superstition for those who will read their Bible with an open mind. Now, that is extremely important. And I'm sure that many people do feel that they do have an open mind in reading their Bibles. So there's no judgment here. He's just making that recommendation. If you're not doing it, he's just saying, please do it. Now, he says here, definitely and clearly, and he stresses his words in the most circumstantial way, that the real relationship of God and man is that of parent and child. Okay? Here, God ceases to be the distant potentate who deals with groveling slaves and becomes the loving Father of us, his children. It is extremely difficult to realize the far-reaching importance that this declaration holds for the life of the soul. If you will read and reread this section dealing with the fatherhood of God every day for a few weeks, you will find that it alone answers a great many of your religious problems. I venture to say that you will be considerably surprised at the large number of puzzling questions that it will settle once and for all. The teaching of Jesus concerning the fatherhood of God was original and unique. In the Old Testament, God is never addressed as Father. Where references to his fatherhood are made, he is referred to as the Father of the nation and not of individuals. Indeed, this was the reason why Jesus made the declaration of the fatherhood of God, the opening clause of what we call the Lord's Prayer. See, this will deal with the Lord's Prayer after it helps us with Sermon on the Mount, and it's quite interesting too. Breaks it down for us very well. It explains, for instance, the tremendous statement in Genesis that man is the image and likeness of God. It is axiomatic, of course, that the offspring must be the same nature and species as the parent. And so, if God and man are indeed father and child, man, notwithstanding all his present limitations, and despite all appearances to the contrary, must be essentially divine too. Important statement here. We are being told that we too are of a divine nature right now, and susceptible of infinite growth. Infinite. That means no limits. Do not put limitations on yourself. That is what it's saying. An improvement and development up the rising pathway of divinity. Now, before I go any further, he's really talking about our souls here. Something deep within us that we hopefully are trying to get in touch with besides God. We're trying to make that connection when we do our meditation. And if we truly, I've done a lot of different meditation in my 19 years of study, and it has been 19 years of study, trust me. I didn't stop, not even when my son passed. In fact, when my son passed, I probably studied even harder because I had to. So, moving on, that is to say, as man's true nature, his spiritual character unfolds, which means as he becomes more and more conscious of it, he will expand in spiritual consciousness until he has transcended all bounds of human imagination. Onward and yet onward still. It is in reference to this, our glorious destiny, that as we have already seen, Jesus himself says elsewhere, quoting the older scriptures, I have said, ye are gods, and all of you sons of the Most High. And please, ladies, don't think that he didn't mean us either. It's just a natural habit of using the word he and sons for all of us. He then emphasized his point by adding significantly, and the scripture cannot be broken. Cannot be broken. Very important statement. So in this passage, we are set free once and for all from the last link in the last chain that binds us to a limited and a degraded destiny. We are the children of God, and if children, then sons and joint heirs with Jesus Christ, as Paul says, and as sons of God, we are the heirs of our Father's estate, not strangers or paid servants, much less chattel slaves. We are sons of the house and will one day enjoy our inheritance. At the present time, we find ourselves full of limitations and disabilities because we are spiritually but children, minors. Children are irresponsible, lacking in wisdom and experience, and have to be kept under control lest their mistakes should entail serious consequences to themselves. But as soon as man becomes of age spiritually, then, as we have seen above, he claims his rights and obtains them. The heir, as long as he is a child, differeth nothing from a servant, though he be lord of all, but is under tutors and governors. But when the fullness of time is come, he awakens to the truth and obtains his spiritual majority. He realizes that it is the voice, and this is in caps, of God himself that is in his heart, making him cry, Abba, Father. Then at last he knows that he is a son of a great king, and that all that his father has as is for the using, whether it be health or supply or opportunity or beauty or joy or any other of the thoughts of God. Now I'm going to stop here. There's a lot more to go, trust me. A lot more. And it gets into what I read earlier. You know, Emmett was just amazing. What he attempted to do with us was to help us to grow, help our spirits to grow further, to be unlimited, and to help us to understand that we have to go beyond that Old Testament now. We have to go into a new world. Now, this may be talking about the Christian Bible, but for you who are Buddhist or Hindu or Islamic, this can apply to anybody. His words about becoming unlimited and, enjoying the fruits of God's wisdom and divine intelligence are for all of us. All of us. Not any particular religion, but for all of us. I want to thank you all. And in the next chapter, we will go a little bit further with this. We have a lot more to go. That's why I'm kind of doing this a little fast, because there's going to be a point where I'm going to be somewhat unavailable. So that's one of the reasons why. Now, if you want to watch it now, that's great. If you want to wait until another time, that's just as good. I'm very happy with anyone watching. So, thank you. And that concludes the second part of chapter 29. And I wish you all a blessed day, evening, night, whatever time it is where you're at. Good day.